More strongly worded letters from Republicans, Mike. Isn't that great? They've been crying on TV. Cable news, they run to cable news and then they cry and then they send strongly worded letters.
Yeah, I would say this. I don't think that President Biden and his aides and his allies realize how much they have poked the bear with this unprecedented, bogus finding of guilt of President Trump and the subsequent conviction and prison sentence, maybe likely, that will result from this. I don't think that these Biden Democrats understand how much they have angered, they have enraged the American people. And it's not just Trump supporters. My phone has been blowing up from people who are tired of Trump, who are sick of Trump, even people who do not like Trump. And they are all in now because they are so outraged that they didn't expect this result to happen, even though I've been going on shows like yours, Ben, and warning them for 2 years that this is what these Biden Democrats are going to do. And this was a wake-up call. This was the Pearl Harbor of the lawfare yesterday. And people are outraged, as evidenced by President Trump's campaign getting over $30 million in donations in one evening. I know that the Article 3 project, the group I run, I have not even done any fundraising off of this, and we are getting inundated with donations. I've never seen anything like this. Tens of thousands of dollars, and we are a lean and mean operation. And I've spent a lot of my own money running this thing, so it's welcomed. But it's stunning. I expected this to backfire spectacularly on President Biden and these Biden Democrats. I didn't think it would be this big of a blast. It's huge.
So all across my social media feeds, there are people saying that they will be voting for Donald Trump. They never wanted to vote for Donald Trump. They don't like Donald Trump. They never voted for Donald Trump before. And now they're voting for Trump to stop Marxism and to stop communism in this country. Now the Trump vote has become a protest vote against a rigged system. And this is the worst possible result. And this is why I think, Mike, you haven't seen the kind of squeeing, psychosexual, orgasmic joy from the left. There's something that's been strangely missing from my timeline, which is what I thought would be the cringe cavalry of people celebrating this. That hasn't, I think there's like a clear-eyed, sober moment right now where Democrats realize, at least the sober ones, realize what they've done here.
Yeah, President Biden and his aides and allies have executed a terrorist attack against our American legal system. And they're like the Hamas people cheering after the terrorist attack. And they don't understand how much they have poked the bear. They are going to get annihilated in this next election. On November 5th, 2024, President Biden is going to get chased out of the White House, and all of his aides and allies are going to get chased out of the White House. And that's when the real reckoning begins on January 20th, 2025. I don't think that President Biden and his people understand how much they have outraged, enraged, red-pilled a lot of these Republicans who are the biggest cowards on the planet, these country club Republican types. These country club Republican types, after Biden's Hiroshima yesterday on the legal system, have parked their Mercedes and they've put away their golf clubs and they've gotten out their Mercedes. I mean, they are. I've never seen so many rich old white men outraged. And there's nothing more dangerous than rich old white men who are angry because they have the resources and they have the ability to actually do something about it. And so all these little woke cupcakes on the other side who do their stuff, they're going to get crushed legally, politically, and financially. We are going to crush you after January 20th, 2025, after what you've done. And it's so much bigger than President Trump. President Trump just said this, and he's spot on. This is so much bigger than Donald Trump. This is so much bigger than one campaign. This is so much bigger than one presidency. They have destroyed our legal system because they are so deranged. Their Trump derangement, they cannot control their Trump derangement. They're like Hamas people who can't control their hatred of Jews. They can't control their Trump derangement. And so they let their Trump derangement lead us to this legal Hiroshima. And they're going to pay a price for this. They're going to pay a price. We already saw with Senator J.D. Vance from Ohio. He's done a criminal referral to the Justice Department. Merrick Garland, that little sniffling punk, won't do anything about it. But guess what? When Trump is back in office on January 20th, 2025, there will be a criminal probe opened on this criminal conspiracy by President Biden, by Merrick Garland, by Jack Smith, by Jay Bratt, by Matthew Colangelo, Tish James, Fannie Willis, Alvin Bragg, Juan Merchan, Lauren Merchan, people on the outside of this lawfare too, like Andrew Weissman and the lawfare crew. You will all be, at a minimum, key fact witnesses that we're going to have to get discovery from in this criminal probe. So save your documents, guys. There is absolutely going to be retribution.
There was a very cringe moment on Fox News yesterday when Alina Habba was calling these the Biden trials, and Shannon Bream of Fox News gave the corporate pablum, producer in her ear, right? Producer from Midtown Manhattan, probably a Biden voter, saying, you can't call them the Biden trials. Well, here, in Alvin Bragg's slobbish, gloating press conference yesterday is Matthew Colangelo. Now, you've been talking about Colangelo for a very long time, Mike, but I've never even seen the guy. Yet here he is, behind Alvin Bragg, little midget of a man, gloating about moving from the number 3 spot at the DOJ to go into this backwater, dingy district attorney's office to run this case. This is the Biden apparatchik who ran this case. Now, you've been calling it out for months, for a year on this program, and here he is sniveling on camera, made sure that he got in the shot to say, I did this. Can you talk to me about Mr. Colangelo? What should a Trump administration do to people like him when they regain power?
We should put them in prison because they are involved in an obvious criminal conspiracy under 18 USC 241 and 242, very serious federal civil rights felonies, up to 10 years in prison for a criminal conspiracy to violate your constitutional rights. And they have done this, and especially in this New York trial, they illegally, unconstitutionally gagged a criminal defendant so he could not even point out that the judge is corrupt. This Juan Merchan is corrupt. He illegally donated to Biden. That got him reprimanded. We learned several months ago from the New York court system. That didn't deter Juan Merchan. His daughter is Lauren Merchan. Trump can't say this name. I can. Lauren Merchan is raising millions of dollars. She's a leading Democrat campaign consultant and fundraiser. She's raising millions of dollars off of this unprecedented criminal trial over which her corrupt father is presiding, requiring his recusal under New York statute. How did Juan Merchan respond to the proposed to the motion for the recusal from Trump? He put an illegal, unconstitutional gag order on Trump and said that if Trump even mentioned Lauren Merchan's name, that he goes to jail. If his campaign mentions Lauren Merchan's name, Trump goes to jail. If they even post a news story from even the New York Times mentioning Lauren Merchan's name, Trump goes to jail. Trump, even after this trial, even after the trial is done, the verdict is reached, the witnesses are done, Trump is still under this unconstitutional gag order. You just heard it from Trump at that press conference. He cannot mention Lauren Merchan. He can't respond to Stormy Daniels or Michael Cohen. He can't talk about Matthew Colangelo getting deployed from the number 3 office in the Biden Justice Department. Trump couldn't even mention that the jury pool voted 87% for Joe Biden. Somehow that would get Trump thrown in prison, let alone the fact that Colangelo, Bragg, and Judge Merchan rigged the jury selection process to bounce potential Trump social media followers, but not Biden. This was a rigged process from the beginning. Soros-funded Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, Fat Alvin, campaigned on the fact that he was going to get Trump. Colangelo got sent from the Biden Justice Department after the prior Manhattan DA, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Bragg himself, who campaigned on getting Trump, knew that this case was a dog and didn't bring it. But Colangelo brought it. I mean, this there is going to be serious legal, political, and financial consequences come January 20th, 2025. In the meantime, Jim Jordan needs to issue subpoenas for documents and witnesses immediately, not letters, subpoenas, and then enforce those subpoenas. And if the Biden Justice Department doesn't want to enforce those subpoenas, I guarantee you the Trump 47 Justice Department will.
So considering the fact that you would be a very strong advisor to that department and that you'd be somebody that presumably may even work in that department, it's a promise that we certainly hope you intend on keeping, Mike, and we know you to be a man of your word. So speaking of this case and what it means for the overall legal system now across the country, I'd like to ask your opinion on something that I've been thinking about and that I can't get out of my head, which is the crimes that the Bidens have committed in red states. So I know that a sitting resident of the White House can't be charged, and you can't sue Joe Biden, okay? And you can't do that while he's in office. But Joe Biden's brother, a real scumbag named Jim Biden, had an entire Medicaid embezzlement scheme in the state of Florida. Yeah, the DOJ actually looked into this. He defrauded all of his investors. He defrauded the good people of Florida. He stole state funds. And he sent a bunch of little grandmothers out onto the street after closing their hospitals and treatment centers. He committed a real crime in the state of Florida. My contention, I'm no lawyer, is that immediately this Florida Attorney General or a DA here in this state should charge Jim Biden, drag him into a swamp courthouse with a Trump donating judge, with a jury pool with people wearing MAGA hats, and should throw Jim Biden's ass in jail for the next 100 years in a non-air conditioned cell in the Everglades because of the crimes that they committed in this red state. And you could go to Texas, you can go to Arkansas, and you can find a lot of red states where Democrats have committed crimes. Do you agree with this tactic?
100% agree with you, Ben. And I'll tell you, Chris Carr, the Attorney General of Georgia, and Ashley Moody, the Attorney General of Florida, they need to open criminal probes right now because this criminal conspiracy driven by Biden and his aides and allies had key overt acts committed in Florida with the Mar-a-Lago raid and the subsequent criminal case against Trump in Florida, along with Fani Willis's case, Nathan Wade and Fani Willis's case in Georgia. And I understand that Governor Kemp hates Trump and he's not going to do anything. He's not going to lift a finger to help Trump. But Chris Carr, what is he doing? Why isn't Chris Carr opening a criminal probe on Fani Willis and this broader criminal conspiracy to violate President Trump's civil rights? Why isn't he bringing a RICO prosecution against President Biden and these Biden Democrats for their election interference, just like Big Fanny and Nathan Wade are doing in Georgia? Why hasn't Ashley Moody opened a criminal probe in Florida? I just talked to Axios about this today, and they published the story. And of course, the left's heads are exploding, and that's good. That means that we're over the target, Ben. And that Ashley Moody and Chris Carr, if you want a future in the Trump Republican Party, because it is the Trump Republican Party, no matter what your governors think, it's the Trump Republican Party. If you want a future in this party, you guys need to step up and do your jobs.
I just want to move just really quickly outside into the blast radius of what they've done here. The Clinton Foundation has always, and this was a shock to me, always been located in Little Rock. The district attorney in Little Rock is a Trump Republican. The governor is Sarah Sanders. The Clinton Foundation is like a child trafficking, embezzlement, pay-for-play international slush fund for Bill and Hillary. Where are the charges, Mike?
That's a great question. I didn't even think about that. Tim Griffin is my former boss and a good friend. I used to work with him in the Bush 43 White House. He was a member of Congress, and now he's the Attorney General. So I would say, Tim, this is a very good point that Ben Johnson is making. I do think that Tim Griffin, who wants to run for governor someday, should open a criminal probe on the Clinton Foundation. That's brilliant, Ben. I'm glad we're talking about this. And Tim Griffin, I think that this is a very good idea that Ben has brought up here.
I thought that the Clinton Foundation was run out of Manhattan or something, and we couldn't get at them. No, dude, it's been Little Rock based the entire time. All their offices, they own like an entire office park in Little Rock.
Well, isn't the presidential library is down there, right? They have that trailer
Mhm.
park that's the presidential library.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's part of that. Tim Griffin, I think, buddy, you need to get on this one. Get on it. Get her done, as you like to say.
Okay, well, hey, I'll be happy to take a residency at the Article 3 project for my brilliant legal analysis here.
You're a visiting fellow, Ben.
Okay. Really quickly, Mike. I know the audience really loves you and and has been listening to you and your sound, clear-eyed legal advice for a very long time on this program, and you've never led them astray. And I'd like to give you an opportunity here to perhaps uplift some people that may have been demoralized by what happened yesterday. Since you are the person, and I hopefully you know this if you're watching, but let me just reiterate: the man on your screen right now is the reason Donald Trump has Supreme Court justices. He's the reason that Brett Kavanaugh was able to get through confirmation. Mike Davis personally was the one shadow boxing against the evil that was thrown at Kavanaugh in that hearing. You've never seen anything like it. We tend to forget because it happened a few years ago, but there's nothing more duplicitous or disgusting than what they did to Brett Kavanaugh. And Mike Davis was the single man standing in the gap, saving those nominations and fighting back. And so when Mike Davis comments on strategy and what we should do going forward, know that he's a man who comes from like actual experience. And so, Mike, the floor is yours. What should the faithful who like still believe in America be taking away from this moment?
I appreciate that. I have to do this quickly because I have to bounce. But I would say this, Ben, to your listeners, to your followers, there will be retribution, and there will be retribution after the American people put President Trump back in the White House on November 5th, 2024, and the Trump 47 Justice Department is up and running on January 20th, 2025. There will be severe political, financial, and legal consequences to President Biden, Merrick Garland, and these Biden Democrats. That there has to be, because the only way this stops is if they feel if they feel the consequences.
I'm gonna make Reign of Terror 2-week Reign of Terror 2025 shirts just for you, Mike. And
3-week, Ben, 3-week.
3-week. Here's the Article 3 project, ladies and gentlemen. Go and support Mike. Mike says they're getting flooded. Help the flood, ladies. Flood, tears. The streets of D.C. must be filled with tears. Mike Davis is one of those guys, making sure that it is. Godspeed, Mike.
Thank you, Ben.